My Wife and Kids ran for 5 successful seasons between 2001 and 2005, but why was My Wife and Kids canceled before season 6? Created by Damon Wayans and Don Rio, ABC's My Wife and Kids was one of the longest-running Black American sitcoms of the early 2000s. Wayans starred as Michael Kyle, the patriarch of an upper-middle-class black family living in Stamford, Connecticut with his wife Jay, played by Tisha Campbell Martin. The show focused on the couple and their 3 children, Junior played by George Ogortu, Katie played by Parker McKenna Posey, and Claire, who was played by Jazz Raycole during My Wife and Kids season 1 but was replaced in subsequent seasons by Jennifer Freeman after Wayans recast the role for his series. Fans of the series may remember My Wife and Kids season 5, episode 26. The V story ended with a cliffhanger. Directed by Tisha Campbell Martin, the episode centered around Jay reading a newspaper article about a 67-year-old woman giving birth and asking Michael to get a vasectomy to prevent any future baby-shaped surprises. When he chickens out, Jay volunteers to get a hysterectomy instead, but Michael eventually comes around. Just as he tells Jay he's willing to get the snip, however, she informs him it doesn't matter anymore because she's pregnant. Right after this episode, the network refused to produce My Wife and Kids season 6, and ABC canceled the show, leaving zero closure for audiences. Viewers never got to see how that cliffhanger played out since My Wife and Kids season 6 never came to fruition. The very same day the V story aired, news broke that ABC had canceled My Wife and Kids for reasons initially unknown, alongside a number of other shows including fellow sitcom 8 Simple Rules and the crime drama Blind Justice. Rather than produce My Wife and Kids season 6, ABC instead chose to give its Tuesday 8 p.m. slot to the Jim Belushi Twin Peaks-fronted sitcom, according to Jim. So, why was My Wife and Kids canceled despite lasting longer than Damon Wayans' SNL stint? If anyone or anything is to blame, it's the success of the singing competition show American Idol. Falling ratings and ABC executives feeling the sitcom had played itself out were reportedly to blame for My Wife and Kids being suddenly canceled. Stephen McPherson, the then president of ABC, also stated that American Idol, which was then airing on Fox on Tuesday nights, was damaging the ratings of ABC's Tuesday night comedies. It's hard to believe that the sitcom had played itself out when My Wife and Kids season 6 would have picked up on a life-changing note. Fans of the show could have only guessed what sort of hijinks could have occurred during and after Jay's pregnancy, especially considering the fact that the baby was a surprise to begin with. However, falling ratings are usually the main reason for a sitcom cancellation. According to Wayans, he also sought an answer to why was My Wife and Kids canceled, as he was under the impression from ABC that his show had been picked up for the 2005 to 2006 season. That explains why My Wife and Kids season 5 finale concluded with a big cliffhanger, because Wayans thought it would be addressed in the next season. Unfortunately, My Wife and Kids season 6 never came, and fans of the show are still left wondering what became of the Kyle family and their new addition. It's highly unlikely that the show will be brought back, as Living Color's Damon Wayans has since moved on to different roles. That being said, reboots happen all the time, and the actor's son, Damon Wayans Jr., has proved his comedic ability during his run as coach on the sitcom New Girl. In this day and age, a never-say-never attitude can generally be taken when it comes to the many reboots that come down the pipeline. And while nothing is in the works for My Wife and Kids season 6, it doesn't mean that a reboot idea couldn't be visited at some point. Unfortunately, there's been no news ever since My Wife and Kids was canceled, despite the fact that New Girl's Damon Wayans Jr. has enough talent to take over the role of Michael Kyle, or at least his own variation of it. Despite My Wife and Kids meeting the same fate as many other low-ratings comedy series, the show didn't deserve to be canceled. After all, the falling ratings of the TV show can be blamed on American Idol, meaning that My Wife and Kids wasn't axed entirely on its own merit. In fact, it's a pretty high-quality sitcom. At a time when instances of representation in sitcoms were few and far between, the series stood out as a black sitcom on primetime television that was dedicated to showing family life. In this way, it was familiar, subversive, and truly before its time. Not only was the series cancellation a shock to the show creators and Damon Wayans, but choosing to cut My Wife and Kids after ending on a cliffhanger could also be seen as an act of betrayal. Ultimately, the reason for My Wife and Kids cancellation is a common one, but there were extenuating circumstances, and the show didn't deserve to grind to a halt when it did.